All right, y'all. I decided to go live instead of doing a video to this because I feel like, with a person, with a platform, with a voice, I feel like it would be more beneficial just to go live. I don't feel like having to take the time to do all the edits or whatever. So I just posted, like by now, all media probably has posted, regular people has posted that Rick Chow has been found not guilty in the murder of 14-year-old Cyrus. A lot of people have been sharing my post in particular, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are getting shared. And, they question, like, how could this happen? Things like that. And I know in this moment, right, especially for the black community, right, it's going to be a lot of outrage, a lot of emotions, a lot of everything, right? And I'm probably going to be one of few people that's going to say what I'm about to say and the way I'm about to say it. But I feel like being somebody with a platform and a voice, I need to say it. This is not the time to act in emotion, do anything reckless, right? This is a time this is an election year. Let's start with that, okay? This is a time to think about who we have in position to lead these type of situations, right? You got to think about who's in charge at the prosecutor's office. You got to think about who's in charge. Like, you have to think about who's in charge, okay? At the end of the day, justice in the legal system, right, means the process is finished, okay? We sometimes forget justice doesn't mean like, okay, if something happens to my family member, justice is somebody's going to go to prison for that. Or if my family member did something to somebody else, justice will be them beating the case. Justice means the process of the legal system has completed. So in this case, right, as far as the justice system is concerned, hey, it went to trial, it went to the jury, it came back with a verdict, it's complete. To the family of the victim, it's no justice for them because they didn't get a guilty verdict. To the defendant, justice is complete for him in a good way because he beat the case. For those who have been watching the trial, from a legal standpoint, the state didn't do their big one. The state case, when you look at it from like the law, was holes in it. The defense was able to fill those holes with doubts. That's why it came back not guilty, right? Once you taking all emotion out, whatever, the jury had to follow the rules of law, and that's what they did. Now, the prosecutor on this case wasn't it the solicitor himself? They fumbled it. They had some good defense attorneys on this case, and that's the reason why the solicitor was the lead prosecutor. When you have big dog defense attorneys, normally the big dog prosecutor gonna be on the case. He didn't do it. He didn't do his big one. At the end of the day, he didn't. But again, remember what this case was about. So again, I went live because like it's a lot of emotion running, especially in the black community. Don't allow this though to create more situations like this where outcomes like this happen, right? Take time to really think about how to fix this problem, right? And the problem is people that we have in power. People that lead the cases where, according to the outside looking in, justice should be served for the victim, right? So that's just really how I feel about it. Again, I see it from a legal standpoint because y'all know that's, I do cases for content and in real life. So I see the flaws in how the trial went, and, at the end of the day, from a legal standpoint, justice did what it did. from a personal standpoint, you know, it's like, how do you just chase down anybody, but let alone chase down a 14-year-old child and get off? When I know people that's the color of me that's doing time for just shooting back at somebody that did something to them. So, I mean, I get the emotional aspect of it, right? Y'all, for those who have been following for a while, my cousin was murdered last year. Her murderer, you know, is still haven't went to trial yet, and this could be the outcome for us. So I definitely get the emotional part of it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be utilizing my platform properly in this moment if I wouldn't say I get the emotion, but this is not the time to act out emotionally, right? Because it's not going to serve us as a community by doing so. You know, this is a tough one, right? Especially when I've covered cases in other places, right, that had outcomes like this, but it do hit a little bit closer when it's from the city you're in. I remember the protest at that gas station, right, when it happened. I remember all that. So I know the city is feeling it, but I just want everybody to understand, right, when we choose to let justice, right, meaning the legal system, takes its course, then it's up and down, right? No prosecutor know if they're going to go in a courtroom and really win. No defense attorney knows that. They going to say, hey, I have a ratio of winning, but they don't know. So I say this again. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those creators that just get on here and like say, yeah, follow your emotion. I'm not going to do that because I know where that ends up leads to. But I will say this. I definitely feel the emotion from the situation. However, I also see it from a legal aspect, and I feel like the prosecution just didn't do a good job. Because there's no way they couldn't paint a better picture to the jury to where, you know, this wouldn't have ended this way. So remember when it come back, because they didn't come back a hung jury. If they would have came back a hung jury, then it was a battle. They came back not guilty. That means the prosecution did not prove their case. That means the defense case was stronger. The defense put more on the table to cause reasonable doubt. And that is why I say, remember, it's an election year. Pay attention to who is up for re-election. Make sure you pay attention to who the candidates are for all positions. And hopefully, you know, we can make a change for the future. But in this moment, it's not a justice situation. Because again, justice in the legal system just means it took its course. And it did. He went to trial. He beat the case. However, we have our solicitor that we had to vote in leading this case. The solicitor was the one that was in trial every day, presenting the case, and then people under him. So it may be time that we may need a new solicitor. This is the same solicitor that got on the podium with the Joshua Ruffin case and said he wasn't going to pursue charges on the police officer. So just keep that in mind. And y'all know I don't do the political talk, and I don't try to get into politics too much. So I'm not going to go too deep into it, but just keep in mind why it's so important to pay attention to who we have in these offices and pay attention to those who have been in the office for a while, their track record with certain types of situations. Because I know a lot of people is going to be like, if this was a black man that chased down Korean, Chinese, white, or whatever 14-year-old from their business and gunned them down, this wouldn't be the outcome. And I know a lot of people are thinking that. And to be honest, in this moment, I'm probably with you personally, right? I probably feel the same way. But remember, The person with the say in these situations is voted into office. Think about it. And I'm going to let y'all go. I just want, again, I was laying down, got the notification, and I was like, I wouldn't utilize my platform if I don't say something about it, especially being that this in South Carolina. But look, everybody just try to, enjoy the rest of your evening and try not to act out emotionally in this situation, but think about what we can do to prevent this moving forward. I'm out, y'all. Y'all have a good night.